Edmund Burke, who's one of the seminal philosophers of the conservative movement, a lot of people don't know, actually criticized market civilization as what he called the age of sophisters, economists, and calculators. So there's a type of educated statesman, 19th century gentleman scholar who was suspicious of the excesses of unchecked capitalism, unbridled wild, wild west markets that they saw as incompatible with conservatism, with settled ways of life and traditions. Daniel Bell called this decades ago the cultural contradictions of capitalism. It tends to breed virtues and ways of life that undermine traditional settled ways of life, which are the foundations that allow free enterprise to function. So what I see with this camp is the dangers of libertarianism. It's hostile to traditionalism. What I think held them together during the Reagan years was a long-term common enemy, Soviet communism, and a charismatic leader, Ronald Reagan. What we call neoliberalism today, I think, had a world historical mission that was good to defeat communism. But by the early 90s, that mission was accomplished. So it had to find a new enemy. And what animates the techno-accelerationists, and I would argue all of these groups, is their hostility to what Elon famously called the woke mind virus. You might notice in this little doodle I have is these little squiggles of blue and red and purple, is that a lot of what gets called woke is not really coming from a green perspective. It's people using green language and concepts and rhetoric, but coming from a blue or red or purple altitude developmentally. And so that means that Elon has a point. There is something authoritarian and oppressive and regressive about a lot of what gets called woke. The problem is that they tend to conflate that with the totality of progressivism. So that's what I think animates a lot of the new right, is really hostility to the increased space that green is taking up in the culture.